Hello everyone, I'm Nick Peters, the gaming theologian, and I affirm the virgin birth. What's it like to meet with Mormon missionaries? Okay, so I hope everyone who watched yesterday they enjoyed the brief stepping away as we talked about Spider-Man Brand New Day. Let me see if I've heard everyone here. And today we're back to Final Fantasy Legend 2. My allergies are a little bit better today. And last time we played this, we saw this volcano suddenly appear here. So now we're doing some exploring here to see what's going on in here. And the volcano hurts you with every step you take in the lava areas. That's not too surprising. The good news for us here is that while we are taking a lot of damage early on, there are places in here that you can at least refill your hit points at. Thing is, it only refills 100 hit points every time, which doesn't make much sense because it's not like we can't just use these things repeatedly, so why not go ahead and heal everything? But I didn't make the game, so I can't say about that. So, last Friday, I met with some Mormon missionaries. Now, it had happened that I was just browsing on. Now, we saw someone show up briefly behind us there. I was just browsing on Facebook, and I saw something come up asking if you would like to meet with Mormon missionaries with the whole come unto Christ. Well, I wasn't going to pass that up. I love meeting with Mormons. And so we arranged a place to come. I didn't know up front that I was a seminary student, actually. And just said, hey, why don't you come here to the seminary? You can meet at the student center, but they weren't keen for that one. So we met at a nearby coffee shop, which is a Christian coffee shop, actually, and it's where I would usually meet other people just like this. And there were three of them that came in. Nice guys. Grant this to Mormons. When they come over, they are generally always very nice people. Okay? I know their history can tell something different. But from what I've seen, the ones you meet, they're generally, as far as ethics are concerned, what we would refer to as good people. I want some people to be sure when I'm saying they're good people, I'm not saying that that's salvific for them in any way. It's a shame, I think, that I have to explain that, but there are people who think that way, who say, well, it doesn't matter how good they are, it's not going to get them to heaven. Yeah, I agree with that, but that's not the point that I'm making. So they introduce themselves, and one of the first things I end up talking about with them is my work on my area of study with being Christianity and video games. Now, why do I start there? Because these are young men. Once again, we saw that mysterious figure show up behind us, and of course I know what's going on, but you all might not, so I turned to these young men and I talked with them then about something more neutral that I suspect they're already interested in: video games. Odds are, if you meet a young man, he's got an interest in video games. So that's a topic we can start discussing and sharing about right away. You want to, having these things paralyzed is really helpful for us. Fortunately, poison goes away after a battle in this game. There's that figure again. So we start talking about that some. And then, before too long, we're getting into the discussion of the Book of Mormon. And they're asking me if I have ever read the Book of Mormon, to which I assure them that I indeed have read the Book of Mormon, which is true, by the way. I've read it before, and they asked me what I thought about it. And here I'm being very careful because you don't want to say something that's going to be outright offensive to them needlessly. I don't want to come out and say, yeah, it's a bunch of nonsense there. No, instead, I describe it as something interesting, but point out that I just don't find it convincing. Which is true, I don't. And they asked about if I notice any. Oh, yeah, one other thing I started this conversation with was when they start talking about the great apostasy, which is where they say that the early church fell away from the teaching of the apostles. And I ask questions about when this happened and any backing for it whatsoever. One of them did tell me that, yeah, he had read some of the church fathers. I'm kind of skeptical of that. I suspect it might have been more a case of read something about the church fathers instead of reading the actual fathers themselves. Okay, well, that battle didn't go well for us. So yeah, I think the first ones I really want to take out are the magicians. So we're going to try the stone gaze on them, which did nothing that time. That's great. Yeah, looks like we'll be seeing Odin again. Yeah, this is when these games get really difficult. I'm trying to not run though. Well, this battle's not going to go well either. the magicians are the real problem in this one because they do so much damage so easily. If we can get the stone gaze off one time, that'll handle things. But they start. But anyway, so my point with them is I suspect they hadn't really read the Fathers themselves, as in picking up the books directly, but they've read about the Fathers, if anything. Whereas it's easy to give off some names, but it's not easy to show familiarity with them. But they start talking about differences that they had there. And we are trying to show that all these denominations came about after um, Jesus left. So now we have this supposed 45,000 or however many it is of the time denominations. And that claim glory, that claim is a total myth. Where it comes from, they said it comes from Pew, but there's actually a group that the I can't remember what the book is now, but if someone asks me later I can tell you, but pretty much the whole thing is a denomination is defined as an organization that is self-governing and holds to a Christian position. And by that standard, you could have two independent Baptist churches in a town. They have exact same beliefs, but because they are on different parts of town, they are considered different denominations. I also did not want to come right out and point out that there is a book called Divergent Paths of the Restoration Movement, written by a Mormon, that shows that the Mormons themselves have their own problem with a division that showed up. And this was right after Joseph Smith died. The Mormons have had this issue from the beginning. Because I figure if I play my cards that way, and I reveal too much early on, it's going to send these guys running. Now, we talked some about if there were differences between the Bible and the Book of Mormon. So, in not just like there's different stories, because obviously everyone one of us agree, yeah, the Bible doesn't say give any accounts of Jesus in the Americas, for instance. But is there anything contradictory? And the one I brought up was the account of that shows up in, I think it's 2nd Nephi, where it talks about that by grace you are saved through faith, after all that you can do. Oh boy, not these guys again. The good news for us this time is there's only one magician. So, it's my hope that I can get a good blizzard off. Yeah. Someone said, well, some see how these two independent Baptist churches anathematize each other. Yeah, that happens sometimes, but they're still considered denominations. I mean, even the National Catholic Register has an article on this whole thing about how we need to stop saying that there are all these denominations out there. And it's right, the Catholics themselves need to stop saying that, because by the standards of what a denomination is, Catholics actually don't come out looking much better. And I don't say that as any slam on Catholics. I've got several Catholic friends. I think I'm going to keep this monster that I've got, because it's very good when it comes to self-healing. Now I'm going to pass. And that's something I kind of need right now. Yeah. So, oh good, strike first. I want to make sure we take these magicians out immediately. I think I'm near the end of this dungeon, thankfully. And I honestly think this is the first time I've gone through this game where it's been fight everything and don't run. Because in the past, I've had a tendency to run. Because that's just how hard enemies are after a while. Now, the big thing they always get to also is how do you feel about the Book of Mormon? Now, I myself don't really care about how I feel about the book. I care about if a book is true or not. And the answer I come to is a definitive no, it's not. But one thing I try to bring up, and I don't think it really hit home, was the question of, I pull up the test in the book and ask, have you tested the test? Now, what do I mean by this? Because when it comes to Mormons, they present the test as if that's the be-all and the end-all of the whole thing. And here's Leon, please forgive me. He took a magie of power. Well, at least now we're out of that dungeon, so we'll go and heal up everything. You see, here's the problem with a Mormon test. And you can consider it like looking at, say, double-blind studies, for instance. When you take this test, there are two conclusions. Either you get the burning of the bosom, or you don't. That's pretty simple. But the problem is, if you don't get the burning of the bosom, where you just weren't sincere. if you do get the burning in the bosom, well, see, the test works. There's no option of, is the test effective? Because imagine doing this kind of study, and what you conclude is, every time the test comes out in your favor, the test is true. But every time it goes against you, the problem is with a person. Okay. Here's when I asked the LDS who came to my door which original language the golden plates were translated. They told me Hebrew, which I believe is incorrect. They say it was Reformed Egyptian, right? Yes, they actually talk about a language called Reformed Egyptian. I don't know about being used anywhere else. Well, Venus seems to be gone now. That's interesting. And wedding ceremony for Flora and Neos is about to begin. Here she is. Stay and attend. Sure. Neos, you are to love Flora as your wife. Flora, you are to love Neos as your husband. No questions or objections are allowed. Now kiss for the pledge. You, Venus, I'm going to defeat you with this magi. Where did you find it? Besides, what are you going to do with just a knife and a magi? Don't you oppose me. Please, I'll marry Nero, so please forgive him. You think you can ordering me to let him go? I mean, be quiet and clear my way. No, I really do love Leon. I'm not afraid of anything anymore. I'm going out of this city. And how about this? And she makes a scar on her face with Leon's knife. Now that I have this scar, I can't stare anymore. Please accept me to outside walls. Oh, you act against me and my pride of beauty. That is unforgivable. That's it. Hey, that's too much. Well, now here's everyone else cleared out of here. We take the magi back. Nero seems a bit concerned. Don't worry, we'll take care of it, alright. And yeah, we're going to take care of it. You're the most graceless one, the most important form of beauty. So yeah, we are now going to be fighting Venus in the sky with diamonds. I think it actually might be possible. Yeah, it is possible to turn her to stone. So we're going to be trying for that. Now everyone else just does backup attacks. And right now she's paralyzed. I love the boss music in this game. There you go. We defeated a god by turning her to stone. And received a new magi called Aegis. So what we're going to do is equip my monster with Aegis. And I'll show you what it does in another battle. But anyway, there's no way to verify that this test works. Well, I guess it couldn't hurt to save. Yeah, we're all healed up now. All you have to do is take their word for it, but I'm not one willing to do that, so I want to know, how do you test for test? How do you know if a test is reliable? And there isn't. I consider it at best power of suggestion. And we don't really want to be making decisions based on our emotions. And sadly, this is a problem even within Christianity, where Christians have a strong feeling about something and think, oh, that must be God. No, it doesn't have to be. Okay, now we are going to replace the grenade with a bazooka. Yeah, we're getting very powered up here. I do wish in this game there was better way to hold more items. Your inventory is incredibly lacking. Okay, now this is, as far as I'm concerned, the best armor you can use. Yes, your strength goes down, which can be a negative, but you do get immunity to fire, ice, thunder, the elemental damage, so yeah, I'll consider that a win. So what's going on in this town here? People gather here for Magi. Okay, we're probably in the right spot here. Faster dragons cost more money. The longest way round is the nearest way home. I didn't realize it'd take me straight there. Anyway, Apollo's in this town if you come regularly, and he tells you that the dragon races are held here regularly, and Magi is given away as a prize. Yeah, I wanted to take down those things first because they can absorb your hit points and keep refilling themselves. Yeah, your dragon really does move that fast here if you get the fastest one. So, in our day and age, we have many Christians who look at having a strong emotion about something and then say that's God telling them what they should do. You don't see this show up anywhere in Scripture. And yet it's pretty much taken for granted as an automatic axiom in churches today. I always tell people, like, you want to know what God wants you to do? Go to the Bible. And if you don't see the specific answer to your specific question, here's what God wants you to do. Make a wise decision based on what you know. And leave the rest in God's hands. Did it again. Yeah, the hornet monster actually has honey to heal, so we're going to take advantage of that here. And here we come across the first arranged batter. Here. We're going to try and turn these guys to stone. Succeeded. Yeah. My commenter was saying a lot of pastors lean into a fielding. Sadly, they do. And that's not enough for me because if we go that route, we are pretty much setting people up for Mormonism. Because the Mormons will say, oh, you had that strong feeling, isn't that great? Well, how about this book? What kind of feeling does it give you? And there'll be more tempted that can say, oh, feeling, therefore God. Doesn't work that way. So, Christians, please be on your guard against this kind of thinking. If I have someone come to me and they tell me that God said X, I'm usually watching the case immediately and saying, okay, how do they know this? Because, yes, God does speak to people in the Bible at times. But when he does speak, it's clear and it's also rare. even if we look at someone like Abraham, the friend of God, well, yeah, God spoke to him, but then the heavens were also silent for 13 years. How do you think Ishmael came about? Now, at this point, also, since we're around halfway through, I'd like to remind you that what we do is supported by people just like you. People who love Jesus and also enjoy a good game. And because of people like you, I do this kind of thing. And I ask that you just give back. We recently did have a new donor show up who became a $5 donor. That means so much to me. And that's all it really takes. Just even a donation of that much can bring me joy. If you want to donate, you can go and look in the vid description. There's a link to my Patreon. And like I said, $5 donation, that means you'll be paying $5 every month. Not a lot, really. Well, that laser sword is a lot more powerful than I thought it was. The price of a cup of coffee, for instance, you can do that. Okay, it's not a lot. So please do consider becoming a donor. I do have a Discord set up as well, so you can see how much better things are against the magicians now once we've got the I don't know how that worked on my mutant. I'm gonna have to check his equipment after this fight. We can discuss various topics there. There's not a lot of discussion going on because I don't have a lot of members yet. But we can discuss Christianity, video games. I've got a section there to discuss autism. And how the heck did that happen? He's got giant armor instead of dragon armor. We have to check on that. Okay, I'm going to use this time to do the Aegis here. See, when you use Aegis, for that round, the barrier covers the party, so you're immune to all elemental damage and statics effects. And for a person who holds the Aegis, pretty much any direct physical contact you're immune to. I gotta wonder how everyone else is doing in this race as well. Yeah, this isn't going well here. My hope is that somehow my character can deal with all these guys while the others get distracted by my monster. Well, that's not looking good now. Okay, we might actually pull this off. Wow. I've never seen that happen before, but okay. So now let's go make sure my mutant has dragon armor. Oh yeah, blindness doesn't go away for some reason, even at the end, so Anyway, that's just things you can do to support, and it means a lot. I do try to be very careful with how I use any money you all donate to me. I'm very much a spendthrift. But please do consider it. It's not asking a lot, and if just a few of you come together and do that, it would be a tremendous blessing. So, going back to the Mormons, now they did ask me, they did say something about coming to my church sometime, which I would have been all for, and my pastor would definitely not have had any problem with it. But when I brought that up to them, I think they thought that the whole idea was I was supposed to come to their church. And I said, tell you what, I'll come to your church if you'll come to mine. But unfortunately, the time for my church for them wasn't a good time because, well, they have to be at their church. Funny how that works. Yeah, this town is kind of like a little Japanese town. Automatos are trimming us. But they said they were open to it, and I was going to have them come to a men's event. But the thing is, I haven't heard a thing from them since that day. Nothing. Okay, now we're going to really get tough. We're going to take the tank to replace the bazooka. Yeah, you probably haven't seen a Final Fantasy game get this hardcore where your character is actually using a tank. Welcome to the world of Final Fantasy Legend 2. Now I want to see if the dragon helmet will be worth it or not. Well, that certainly increased defense here. Now let's see what happens if I take another one here. Okay. So what I'm going to do then is go out and grind a bit. This is Ikagoria, he sells good stuff. Where does he get such high class goods? I want to eat bananas, but I don't know why, but bananas are not allowed in this world. I'll go get to 36,000 gold pieces. Now, here's the amusing thing about this game that you can be left wondering, yeah, why are bananas not allowed in a war? Because this is a war where bananas are illegal. It's my understanding that in the original, it was actually a drug of some kind that was illegal, but Nintendo wasn't too keen in having a drug reference in there, so they changed it to bananas. Makes perfect sense. Anyway, that meeting with the Mormons was last Wednesday. I still haven't heard a thing from them. And that's such a tragedy to me, because these guys, they're out here on these missions. They really do think they're serving God, and they're cut off from everyone. And they're just not serving God. They're sold out to a false belief system, and they're not allowed to challenge it at all. They have to be at the church during the services. And jeez, I wish I could just take them and show them everything, and I have to be extremely careful still either way with what I'm saying to them, because if you say the wrong thing that comes across as too knowledgeable, they will turn and run. So I could have very easily brought up divergent paths of a restoration, and I chose to not do it because they would have turned and ran. But I'll go ahead and give you my advice here in this area is, first off, if you want to meet with Mormon missionaries, you need to make sure you know your stuff. Because these guys do undergo training before they go out and interact. So you need to know what you're talking about. You need to know what you believe and why. Now, if you have read the Book of Mormon, and I'd actually encourage you to also read their other quote-unquote scriptures as well, that's to your advantage too. But if they ask you to read the Book of Mormon, I would tell you to read the Book of Mormon. Make sure you know what you're talking about. Make sure you know why Christianity is true. And then read the Book of Mormon and be sure to raise up all the questions about it. You ever got a question asking if I really ran a really skilled Mormon apologist? Yeah, we did, and a roommate of mine did have one come to see us, because I think we were kind of laying to waste for Mormons that were coming to see us, so they decided to send in some big guns. But after a while, we were being just as devastating as this guy, because first time, if he came up with a question, we just weren't answering. We said, "You need to study more, you need to study more." And his name was Eldor Lex, to which we amongst ourselves were saying Eldor Lex Luthor. But yeah, we've encountered that. Interestingly, he and I and a couple of our friends got invited to their church after that, because there was a member of a quorum of a 70 who was going to be speaking. And so we were thinking, oh wow, this is going to be really good. This guy's going to at least try to deliver the goods to us. Nope. He got up and said the exact same thing about having a testimony, burning the bosom. I was thinking, is this all these guys have? And well, we did go and speak to him some afterwards, to which we found out later, I don't remember how, but the question being asked was, who invited those guys to this event? But yeah, even the leading Mormons out there, they just don't really go with the harder things. Now, the Mormons that I met with, they also told me about the passage about being saved by grace through faith after all you can do. And they said, well, what that meant was, it was kind of like, back in that time, it meant in spite of all you can do. So I have some friends at the Mormon Research Ministry. So shout out to my Mormon Research Center here. And I spoke with them afterwards about that, and they sent me a link where they had encountered that objection before, and showed that not only is that not what the word meant back then, even by the dictionaries of the time, but earlier Mormon writers, commentators on the Book of Mormon, did not have that understanding. They read it the exact way we do today. So when you encounter these guys, their apologetics research is often secondhand. They're going by what they have been told. And we, as Christian apologists, when we do our work, we do not need to do that. We should not do that. We should be willing to go back to the original sources as much as we can. We should read the studies for ourselves. I've got a good friend in the PhD program here, and I regularly ask him what are my rules for writing papers, and he knows both of my rules. First off, if you don't know it, don't claim it. Don't say so and so says X. And then my first question would be, have you read so and so? Say, well, no, I haven't. Okay, then you don't know what you're talking about. And then the other rule of cite your sources. So, Christians, make sure you do know what the sources say. Is if you're unprepared, if you hear a Mormon come to you, it can really sound impressive. But there's really not a lot of substance behind it, sadly. If there was, these guys would have been very eager to come to my church and be interacting with us. They're not. Now, I have no problem going to a Mormon church. The only way I'd struggle with interacting is not in making a case, but in just being on the spectrum of my normal social qualms with people and initiating conversations. Once the conversation gets started, I'm good to go. I was telling someone at work today about when I was on my master's to get my scholarship. I had to be doing this while school was in session. I had to be going out and doing evangelism and giving an account once a week. And generally, I kind of stayed back if someone was speaking, because I didn't really care how much to say, I didn't think. And it was just your regular lay people that you were talking to. Yeah, I didn't think I was saying much. I'd contribute a little bit every now and then, but it just wasn't my forte. Until we talked to someone who wanted to give some pushback. And then, by God, you all stay out of my way, okay? Because I'm just going to step up and handle it, sir. I loved it, Finn. I love reading material that challenges me. That makes me think outside my comfort zone. I'm always going through at least one book that I disagree with. And I consider that a good practice for you all to follow, especially if you're going into apologetics. You need to be able to read books that disagree with you and interact well with them. These guys are going door to door, and they are not really aware of what's being argued against them and for them and anything else. Now, I also would tell you that knowing these guys, if they come to your house, knowing they're coming from far away and they're on a tight budget, take advantage of that. In a sense that you can help them better. What we did when I lived with a roommate and we had him come over, we made a big event of it. every time, and I'm sure they were just unaware of people doing this. We ordered a pizza every time. I don't know if they still do it or not, but back then you could go to Little Caesars and get a hot and ready pizza for $5 easily, and that's what we did every time. And we knew they had rules against Coke and coffee and tea and things like that. Well, I know at least coffee and tea, so we got Gatorades to drink. And one time had some, we asked them to come to us and join us because within walking distance of where we lived, there was actually a Jewish deli where you could order a meal and sit down in. So we kind of think it must have been a real sight to be in a Jewish deli and then walk a couple of evangelicals with some Mormons. And one of the Mormons was brand new to us, and when he walked in and he saw our game systems there, oh, he got super excited about that. And the other one who was with him was one we consider he was actually starting to question what he'd been told. And so, this, the one who was super excited the whole time during our meal, all he wanted to talk about were the games we played. That was it the whole time. So we took advantage of that. And when it came time to head back, and we were walking back, this guy was still going on and on about games, leaving the person there who we thought had the most questions. And as we were walking back, my roommate leads the game fanatic away, giving me an open line to talk one-on-one with this doubter. We're pretty sure some people got a really good talking to that day. And eventually they did phase that doubter out, so he wasn't coming to see us anymore. So pray for people like that. And when they had a time even where they couldn't come to see us because they said, well, our car is actually in a shop right now, or something like that. There are some repairs going on. And so I said, tell me where you're at. I'll come get you. They weren't going to complain about that. So what happened? I came and got them. And I'm pretty sure it was raining as well. And what am I doing the whole time? We're driving there and back. I'm giving them the gospel the whole time. Because there's not really anything they can do about it. It's not like they're going to be hypothetically they could, but there's not really a scenario they're going to jump out of a car to avoid me. Just checking my abilities there. So that's what I did. So people, my point in saying all this is do this kind of thing for the Mormons when they come to see you. Show kindness to them. And by under no circumstances slam the door in their face or anything like that. It's not sharing the gospel with them. And they'll take it as persecution and confirmation. Alright. Okay. How do they know when they are doubters in Mormon church? I was asking. Probably because they show up and start asking some questions they don't like for where the questions are going. That's the only thing I can surmise. If you are busy when Mormons come by, tell them. Be honest and say, hey guys, I'd love to sit down and discuss these issues with you, but I've got an appointment now. Can we come back at a later date and arrange it? Make sure you exchange phone numbers before they come to see you. Pray. And when they meet you, if they let you pray, which can happen, make sure, this is sneaky, but it's what I do, include the gospel in the prayer. Talk about the good news of the gospel briefly in the prayer, even. Basically, get the gospel in anytime you can. Also, I recommend that you not make it your goal to destroy Mormonism or the Book of Mormon or anything like that. Your first goal needs to be to build up the Bible. Because if you go the route of just destroying the Book of Mormon, you're not going to create a Christian, you're going to create an atheist. Give them something that they can fall back on. Give them a Jesus they can put their trust in. Don't just leave them hanging, because, yes, Mormonism is false, but right now it's all they've got. And you don't kick away what they walk on without giving them something better to walk on. So, when I talk about, I try and show how the Bible is reliable, how we can trust it. And I encourage you to do the same. This is why you need arguments for both the existing of God and the resurrection of Jesus. You have those, and you're on good grounds at that point. Okay, so we're going to go back into town here because we're almost up to closing time. One last call for alcohol, so finish your whiskey and beer. Fun fact, by the way, that song is actually about fatherhood. Now we're going to heal up. Going to buy Last Dragon helmet here. We need. We're going to have one more battle, and that's going to be it for tonight. But thank you so much if you come here to be watching and interacting. And please do consider supporting me on Patreon. Leave a comment. Share with others. Anything you do to help out what I'm doing here is appreciated. The town's Flatfoot Visito, which is a fancy way of saying detective. So we're just going to make a check back here, see if there's anything we need to get. We're going to try and save up for some of this better equipment here as well. So next time we'll do some more grinding here. I anticipate that'll be Friday. But thanks for coming, and show some love to the Mormons that you encounter in your day-to-day life. Mormons need Jesus just like everyone else does. Now, I'm Nick Peters. I'm from a virgin birth. Remember, whatever you do, do it to the glory of God.